Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, I just want to clarify, if the current state of the law is a non-citizen serving the military gains legal status by virtue of service, or a change in status potentially. But this bill is focusing on what happens when someone is ordered removed, and has been ordered to be removed, or is in that process. And for the vast majority of these, we've heard repeatedly, is for criminals. These people have committed crimes. The Secretary cannot waive the removal and entertain repatriation for certain criminal conduct. The Advisory Committee is not so constrained. But the Secretary must report on how the Secretary is responding to that advice. The Advisory Committee deals with the pre-removal process and not the repatriation necessarily. So this amendment is interesting because I've in previous markup, some Democrats expressed a desire to work with me to address human smuggling. And I was told that while they understood that we must address human smuggling, that bill was not the appropriate bill at that time to address the issue. Well, today I'm offering an amendment to ensure that aliens who engage in smuggling activities are not eligible for the benefits of this bill. And I hope my colleagues still agree that we must address the issue of human smuggling and will support my amendment. The law is clear. It says any alien who at any time knowingly has encouraged, induced, assisted, abetted, or aided any other alien to enter or to try to enter the United States in violation of law is inadmissible. That sounds a lot like potentially dealing with the cartels. As drafted, however, the bill allows the Secretary to specifically waive this ground of inadmissibility. I don't know why the majority chose to allow smugglers to benefit from this bill, but I hope that they will recognize that this should not be allowed and will support my amendment. This amendment won't necessarily stop smugglers, but it will perhaps be a deterrent, and it certainly will prevent rewarding human smugglers. I urge the adoption of this amendment, and I'll yield back.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman from California does not insist on his point of order, I'm sure, since the amendment is germane. And I will recognize myself in opposition to the amendment. I would note that the underlying bill already includes, as a prohibition for consideration by the Secretary, 212A2H, which is significant traffickers in persons. The sections that the gentleman seeks to include as non-waivable includes offenses that in some cases can be minor. And let me give you a real-life example of someone who I actually know who fell into this category. This person, I'll call him Juan, was a legal permanent resident of the United States, and he had a birthday, and he and his girlfriend went to Tijuana, and they really had a great party, and he became inebriated. And because he didn't want to drive drunk, he had his girlfriend drive his truck back across the border. Well, Juan was a legal permanent resident of the United States, but unfortunately, his girlfriend was not. And so when they attempted to re-enter, he was charged with alien smuggling because it was his truck and she was driving, and she was undocumented. Obviously, because she was undocumented, she was not going to be admitted, but that is a real-life circumstance that I happen to deal with as an immigration lawyer, where, you know, the Secretary, if Juan were a veteran of the United States and did several tours of duty in Afghanistan, you might want to consider whether or not that was an extreme enough offense to require that veteran to be deported to another country. This is discretionary only, and we do want to make sure that people who are in the cartels, people who are involved in significant alien smuggling may not be considered for relief. But I think the gentleman's amendments would preclude consideration of potentially meritorious cases. Obviously, this is limited to veterans, and as we know from the track record so far, about half of the applicants have been rejected by the Secretary. The fact that you can at least be considered doesn't mean that you're going to receive approval. So I would urge, I'm sure that the gentleman's intentions are the best, but I think the amendment is unnecessary and would urge its defeat. And with that, I would yield back my time. Do other members wish to be heard?